error.
Okay? And crowding. So if you remove the bicuspid to give a solution for crowding, the patient still having crowding. So it seems that the crowding problem is not exactly a presence of bicuspid in the mouth. So those things make me think a lot. Okay, that we are sometimes bringing patient problems, as I just mentioned in the first slide, instead to give patients a solution. Maybe it's better to don't go to the orthodontist. Because now I have 4 bicuspid less, and I still have the same problem. Okay? Another case example that I received for consultation from my students here in Vietnam. Same situation. Now it's very fashion scanning those things. I don't have scanner in my office, maybe one day. Okay? I didn't see the need for a scanner yet. Okay? So look at this. Another 4 bicuspid. But if you look at this case, the patient still divide in a big interference on the second molar. Big interference. What is the idea to remove bicuspid? It's still class 2. Okay? And if you look here, and here, and 2 dead canines, what is that? What is the meaning of this? So I removed the bicuspid from my patient, and now I have almost 2 second molars getting out, and 2 canines with endodontic treatment. What is this? What is the meaning behind it? Are you giving a patient health? Certainly not. Certainly not. Okay? So, it's really difficult with the conventional style of orthodontics to give this kind of patient a solution. Okay? So, what we should do, in my opinion, this is what I'm doing in my office for more than 10 years, and I am progressing inside this because this is a very nice open field to keep progressing, which is what we call the craniomandibular orthodontics and occlusion medicine. Okay? From occlusion, we can treat absolutely everything. Okay? So this is a concept that I learned in Vienna, and I mix with my previous knowledge, of course, that I have from many other courses I took, and also, of course, from the experience I have in my office. So basically, what do you want to do with craniomandibular orthodontics? I want to understand the point zero of the mandible. How is the mandible inside the joint? I'm going to use the patient's inside anatomy of the joint to understand where is the most posterior position of the condyle dictated by ligaments in where I don't have any compression to any structure. Okay? It's different concept and centric relation, for example. There's nothing to do. Okay? So from this position that we call reference position, this is where you have our feet. From reference position, which is our position 0 of the mandible, I can go anywhere I want. Because I know that position, the condyle is centered, but without compression, 0 compression. Okay? I can end up my treatment in that position if I want. There's no problem. But for class 2s, mainly I need to move the mandible somewhere forward. Okay? This way, I go from reference position to a therapeutic position, and I will certainly need to replace the mandible in a new position. Okay? And that position, which I will design, must be a very comfortable position of the patient without any orofacial pain. If the pain comes from the mandible, okay? Muscle pain, I mean. And also, no compression in the joint, no click, no lockage, no nothing. The patient feels absolutely comfortable with the mandible in that specific position. Okay? Once I have that, I need to develop my new occlusal system to maintain the mandible in that position that I designed during my diagnosis. Okay? So basically, when I know where is the ideal mandible position, it's just a matter to put the piece together and stabilize that position. Okay? So I have very little chance to commit a mistake. I have very little chance to give the patient a problem during my recurrence. Then I need really check whether I need to remove bicuspids, whether I need to distalize, expand, rotate, include, anything. Because I know now that position of the mandible for that particular patient is very comfortable. After that, you see the process adaptation of the joint. The joint starts to adapt and remodel to stabilize that new position that you designed with the condyle position. Okay, the new movement of the mandible certainly changed the condyle from point A to point B. In that new position, with the occlusion and the working of the muscles, the patient can have a new remodeling of the joint. And at that moment, everything becomes stable and never relaxes. So, at the end, I am capable, because I changed the mandible in space through the joint, to fix the skeletal and the TMJ simultaneously, because I changed the condyle in space the way I want. So, if only wires and brackets, you cannot do it. Okay? You cannot make this kind of change or this kind of plan. You can make good things for your patient, I absolutely understand. But if you want to be 100% precise in that position, you certainly need something else than only wires and brackets. So behind of this meaning of what is craniomandibular orthodontics has some concepts, which is first understanding the craniomandibular growth and development, including how grow and develop the TMJs. Okay? So I need to understand since the patient born to the patient arrived to your office, somehow you need to rewind the movie of your patient and try to see what happened during the process of eruption of the teeth until the patient gets to your office with that particular problem. Okay? Second thing is recognize any deviation of the normality. So every patient should born to reach the class 1. But sometimes it doesn't happen. So why make the patient stay class 2? Because we all born class 2. Okay? And what makes the patient over back into a class 2? So this is a very important question that you need to ask yourself before even bone a graft. Correlate, you recognize the intercorrelation between teeth eruption and TMJ formation and how happens this full bones adaptation inside the cranial, this wrong here, mandibular system. Okay? So understand that it's a very big interrelation between the eruption of the teeth and the position of the bones. And during this process, all of these full bones adapt, including the joint. Okay? In the joint, sometimes the people forget the temporal means the temporal bone. Okay? Mandibular means the mandible. So two bones separate, connected, by ligaments, by muscles, okay, by capsula, and we have a disc in between. And this system connecting the skull through the temporal bone and the mandible on the condyle receive a very functional input during life. Orthodontics usually try to treat this patient as the mandible is a hinge, okay? A door hinge. This is a completely mistake. This is a big nonsense. It's completely not understanding how is the functionality of the joint, because this is not, the condyle is not screwed to the skull. Okay? It's very mobile. It's very capable to adapt. Okay? And the deep knowledge on occlusion. Why? Because once I finish and I locate the biomandible position, I need to create a occlusal environment to maintain that position of my
hay.
So its goal always to the occlusion. Okay? So if your occlusion is not good, the mandible certainly will adapt into a new position. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I just show you two cases where the mandible are very bad adapted, and what can cause to the periodontal, to the bones, and to the joints. So basically, what do we have?
Chứng tỏ này rất hay đúng không?
A
Đến
skull,
thời điểm để quay.
maxilla, which is inside the skull, and the mandible. Okay? Now, what do we have here to analyze and to understand? First of all, I need to understand that we have a joint emanation. Okay? And this emanation is carved or developed during the erection process. Because when we're born, we have no emanation. Okay? So our emanation is flat. So the height of the emanation is being developed during the occlusal change process with the erection. Since the deciduous dentition and end up when the canines come into the game, which is about 12 years old. So when you have canines, now the joint is fully established. Okay? So before 12, we have a lot to play with this. We can have a big chance to adapt the TMJ system the way we want. But once established, it creates an inclination in the joint that belongs to that particular patient. And for this inclination, which is a functional inclination, it's not really physical, okay, it's a functional inclination we call sagittal condylar inclination, SCI. And during the sagittal condylar inclination is the pathway where the mandible moves through the joint. Okay? And this inclination is fully responsible for the movement of the jaw in all directions. Another important thing to understand that we have the posterior facial height, which is the distance between the skull to the corner of the mandible. This distance gives me the posterior vertical dimension. It's completely related to condyle compression or decompression. Okay? It's totally connected to the vertical posterior dimension. Another important factor is based on the position of the joint in occlusion. We have a skeletal classification. The patient can be class 1, class 2, class 3, and this is all happening to the joint. Okay? So, the patient adapts the mandible according to the occlusal system. So the vertical anterior dimension, which is another vertical dimension that I can measure from exi to anterior nasal spine and exi to PM, gives me what we call lower facial height. And inside the lower facial height, we need to put the teeth. So imagine with me, if I have an environment which is the lower facial height is very, very short, How can I accommodate this? It's very difficult to have the teeth position without protrusion because the environment is too small. Okay? But once I have a very open vertical dimension, I can have the open bite, and there's a tendency to compensate the open bite with reclining incisors because I have a lot of vertical dimension. Some cases not, some cases. Okay? So this oral space, okay, intra-oral space is the way we're going to adapt and place the piece inside. But the vertical anterior dimension is absolutely connected to the vertical posterior dimension. Both together is responsible to compress or decompress the joint and replace the mandible rotation on the anterior portion. Now, I need to put the teeth in where? Okay? So based on the decompression or compression of the joint, I can play with the vertical posterior dimension. And I can adjust the occlusal plane according to the, let's say, the decompression that I want on the joint. So this is a very important concept that I will create now a dental alveolar compensation to maintain the joint in the position that I want. Okay. After that, let's put the teeth. Incisors in a very good incisors angle to facilitate the mandible function forward. Okay. And the posterior teeth, which is very important to stabilize the condyle vertically. Okay? So the vertical, let's say, height of the posterior dentition is responsible to compress or decompress the joint. So the more posterior it is, the more capacity you can do to decompress the joint. Second molar is closer to the joint than the first molar, for example. Okay? Bicuspid is another area which is more pivot area. Canines, there's nothing to do with occlusion, incisors as well. So the more posterior the teeth, better I can decompress the joint. And I will locate the curvus P and curvus Wilson, because I'm looking here from the side, so I can only talk about curvus P. And curvus P is very important for masticatory efficiency. Okay? There is no occlusal plane which is absolutely straight. So our occlusal system is made by curves. Okay? The P curve, the Wilson curve, and every single element is placed in a different angulation. Okay? All the occlusal system is made by curves. We can trace a straight line there. It's big into points, but the whole system is a curve. Great. So into orthodontic or prosthodontic treatment, implant, whatever you want to do to your patient, you need to understand this correlation. It's very important to understand that we have lower facial height connected to posterior facial height, and I need to place the vertical dimension according to what I want to do to the joint. It's completely connected to the sagittal condylar inclination. Okay? Great. So now you understand that the mandible position must pass through the joint. So as I have to adapt to the joint, if I don't know the inclination of the joint, I am in very risk to place compression to the condyle and the emanation space. Okay? So the more inclined the joint, more vertical dimension you need to give. Because you have the emanation to overcome. Okay? In order to place the mandible here. And you guys, you immediately go to the office now. And you can tell me if it's the low angle class 2s, the very bracket facial patients, are harder or not to place the mandible forward. Absolutely yes. And why? Because usually the neck is condyle and you know it is very steep ridge. It's difficult to replace the mandible. So these patients need a lot of decompression of the joint to maintain the mandible anterior displacement. So in case you need to replace the mandible anteriorly, this is a big problem. So now I place the ideal position of the teeth, and I will make now my final planning. I will put this bracket, this wire, this whatever you want to do. If you want to do crowns, if you want to do rehabilitation, if you want to put an implant, this is the same concept. The patient's the same, no matter the specialty we have. So we need to talk exactly the same language, prosthodontics, orthodontics, implantology. Okay? It means that it seems sometimes that those specialties is totally out of dentistry, orthodontics, live in a different world, which is not true. So we need to cooperate with each other. Great. So what should I use to make a good diagnosis? What should I do? What kind of material, what kind of instrument I have to have in hand in order to perform a great diagnosis? Now we have a very nice image systems, for example, magnetic resonance, CT, volumetric CT. We have convene. We have many nice materials for image. But if you don't understand how to use this image, this is something nice, but how can I use this image to diagnose my case? This is something else. Plus, should I use articulators? Should I use and understand posture? Should I understand muscles? Should I understand the patient's alive and breathing? So the clinical examination is very important. So these things must be very well organized and very well analyzed in a logical sequence. So what is the good logical sequence to do? So it's the diagnosis. So I need to organize this sequence. So basically when the patient comes, I usually need to do and observe the clinical details plus muscles and TMJ for patient. If you don't touch your patient, how can you understand the patient problem? Okay? The muscles talk to you where is the problem. After that, I go to my x-rays and I do my tracings, but you need to connect what you see in the clinic to what you see in the x-ray. Otherwise, the x-ray will be nothing. Okay? And if possible, mount your case in the articulators. Understand the reference position that you use in order to see the patient's problem 3D way. The best way is to use articulators. Okay? Third, understand where is the point zero of the mandible, so I can from that point move to anywhere I want. And in case I have this dislocation, clicks, joint problems, it's mandatory to have MRI. Okay? Otherwise, I don't know where is the disc. So once you see a risk for TMD, MRI. The last one, the most, let's say the least important one is the CBCT. Okay? Because what can I extract from CBCT? I see some bone distortions, okay? But bone is just a bone. What is more important in the system is a neuromuscular system, nerves, vessels, muscles, and occlusions. Okay? So what you see in the CBCT is just a consequence of what's happening to the patient. But how to treat, certainly you're not going to go through the CBCT. Certainly goes to your diagnostics of occlusion, muscle palpation, functional input of your patient, and understand the case mounted in articulators. Okay? So this is a functional aspect. So pay attention to what the system is telling you. If you have vertical problems, lack of eruption or excess of eruption. If we have, especially in the lower arch, mesotipping of the system or the depletion mesotipping. If I see crowding, if I see any other factor, for example, periodontal problems, abrasions, abfractions, all those things count. Okay? For example, this little kid, she came to my office at 7 years old. So what can we extract from this picture, for example? A very thick labor frenum. What is the meaning of thick labor frenum? Okay? Buccal frenums are also very evident. Lower sinus crowding and very poor posterior eruption. So you can see there's no vertical. The crown, the clinical crown is not showing very well for a 7 years old kid. So all those things tell me that certainly this patient is with a lack of vertical dimension. Okay? Because dental velar problem is completely limited to the vertical dimension. So we need to give this patient a chance to increase the vertical dimension. Crowding certainly is adaptation of the system to maintain the mandible forward. So when you see crowding, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's the way the patient can adapt to the mandible anteriorly without having any flimsy problem as best as possible. So when I go to X-ray, especially panoramic, I usually like to see what? How is the mesotipping of the posterior segment? So you can see clearly that this side here is more mesotypic than the other side. Okay? And also, I can see here that over-eruption is happening especially on the second molar. So we have two sides in different heights and different inclinations. Okay? And also here, I see what? A joint compression. The shape here is not so good. Sometimes panoramic, of course, not the ideal X-ray to observe this, but it shows you something. And you can go deeper to analyze in other images. Okay? And the other side is the same stuff. Here is worse because of this super mesotipping over-eruption. So when I see frontal pictures, what should I pay attention? I should pay attention to the deviation of the chin. Okay? And you see that the same thing happened in the frontal X-ray. So correlate what you see in the frontal X-ray, what you see clinically. Okay? Observe the spine inclination, the cervical spine inclination. So the patient is tilted. Okay? You can see both in the frontal picture and the X-ray. So this is something that the patient is really postural. Check inclination of what? Check inclination of temporal bone. We have totally different temporal bones here, left and right side. Okay? You can see the reflection of this on the inclination per ears. So one ear is more typically inclined outside than the other. And the ear follows the inclination of the temporal bone. So why she's so asymmetric? Because the occlusal system is in different heights, left and right side. Okay? So different height here and here. So we have occlusal plane painted in the frontal aspect, like this. Great. So lateral X-ray. Overall, talking, not really talking about placing here. So I can check, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. I can check here the inclination of the posterior occlusal plane, okay, which is correlated to the panoramic. And you can see the amount of eruption that you have to the posterior segment. You can correlate to the mandibular plane. So all those factors show you a lot, we talk a lot about the vertical dimension, posterior vertical dimension. And here is like a summary of everything we talked, which is the posterior vertical dimension to the occlusal plane with P curve, Okay? Inclination of the low incisor to the joint in the what we call the axis orbital plane, which is a little bit different than Frankfurt reference. So in blue, we see Frankfurt reference, and in green, what we call the axis orbital. And we need to correlate this to the anterior vertical dimension and the posterior vertical dimension. Great. Now we are ready to understand that these things can be a factor to be programmed in our treatment plan, but also inside the mouth have many signals of overload. So all those factors are absolutely linked to overload of your occlusal system. For example, this kind of abstraction here or destruction is not normal. Okay? It's not normal. There's something wrong with the occlusal system. Super shiny restorations, abrasions, or certain bone losses. This is all linked to interference on the occlusal system. These interferences happen in function. Never analyze the occlusal system static. Okay, you need to analyze the occlusal system in function, work. Okay, for that it's so easy to do if I use articulators because they kind of reproduce to us and simulate to us what's going on to the craniomandibular system. Okay? With the articulator, I can simulate the position of the patient. I can simulate a new position, and I can create a therapeutic position before place any invasive treatment. Okay? I didn't go to the bracket, I did cement the crown, I did anything, but I can test drive the manual position before make the treatment final. Okay? And historically speaking, have a very same thing, because from 1920s until now, the terminology and the instrumentation changed dramatically. Okay? Since McCollum and Peter Thomas, which is those guys, genius fathers of the WhatsApp, and genius of the first articulators, they talk a lot about balanced occlusion. They after that say about organic occlusion. In 1921, they start to talk about the terminal hinge axis and develop the first pantography system. And full adjustable articulator, very complicated to operate, very difficult to adjust, very hard to use. It seems the guy who invented is the only one who can use this system. But later on, with Faher, what happened that he started to explain and talk to us what's going on inside the joint was a result of bad situation in the occlusal system. Okay? So he was the one who made a big change together with this work from Ludwig Gibbs, 71, talking to us about the Stewing cycle system. So for these people now, functional input is really more important to understand the mandible adaptation. With Professor Rudolf Slavicek in Austria, from who I took all this inspiration, okay? He started to develop now a new position. The centric relation become completely obsolete. And now, what we need to understand that we don't need compression, we need a position that can be reproducible and can be absolutely certain that there is no problem. So he created this RP position I just mentioned, and after that he created the therapeutic concept and sequential WhatsApp and new equipment to facilitate our diagnostic and understand the function of the mandible and the motion of the jaws through the jaws. Okay? So he made the equipment become simple. Simple to use, simple to operate, and very easy to, let's say, copy the patient's condition. Okay? So We call this process a new methodology that happened from the years 80 to now. So basically, in biology, in the past, everything was basically genetically predetermined, but after that, in the years 70s and 80s, they really start to understand the craniofacial complex is very adaptive. But nowadays, they know the whole system is absolutely adaptive, based on occlusion. The development and eruption of the teeth plays a very important factor. So we need to change this paradigm of the old traditional methodology with the centric relation, blah blah, canine exclusion, and full adjusted articulators, very old style, to a new methodology which is simple to operate and very easy to understand using the reference position. Understand bruxism is a very important factor in function. In the old times, they usually call this a parafunction, but it's not a parafunction, it's a unique bruxism to stay alive. Okay? The only thing is we need to brux in a healthy way, not damage or assist. Okay? And use the articulators and chronography to make easy diagnosis. So the articulators should be capable to reproduce exactly what's going on to the patient. And for that, I need to use a coordinate system. Okay? I need to understand that we have a coordinate system to locate the structures in the Y, X, and Z. And we have here the horizontal plane, the frontal plane, and the section. Okay? So I can use the same coordination to represent anatomy of the human body. And in our articulator, we have exactly this. We have the Y, the X, and the Z. So I can reproduce and I can understand the 3D way, how to replace the mandible and how to play with the occlusion in 3D manner. And after that, I am able to adjust the articulator according to what I want to do. But the good thing with this concept is I can copy the patient problem. So the system can tell me exactly how many degrees is the inclination or the sagittal inclination of the joint on the left and right side. Then I can program the boxes. For example, 41 degrees on the right, 45 degrees on the left. The Bennett angle here is 0, and the Bennett angle here is 22 degrees. But more than that, according to the curves the patient made, the system can tell you if the pathway of the condyle is arthrotic like this, which is completely straight, or the animation is deeper or not. So when I program the articulator, I can exactly reproduce the patient condyle. So anything I introduce to the articulator, I am doing as exactly the same I am doing in the mouse. So the precision is absolutely tremendous. And I can reproduce changing the box, for example, SCI 64 is right here. Or I can change for new position, and if I want to decompress 0.3 millimeters, I'm talking here tens of millimeters. I can decompress 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Okay? So every case desires a different approach. Then here, I can move the mandible forward if green is 4 millimeters or in red 2 millimeters. So I can move the mandible forward the way I want. And after that, I can simulate this position, WhatsApp, and make here in a WhatsApp a new mandibular, let's say, guidance. Okay, posterior blockage for the mandible to go back. So for this position that I simulate, we call therapeutic position, TXP. In this way, I can easily decompress a joint like this, for example, okay, which is very backward. If I want to move forward, but how many millimeters? Into what kind of pathway? This is the question. If you see a compression, okay, I can see a compression. This is the CBCT. Okay? The CBCT is telling me I have a compression. That's the compression. But how can I decompress? Towards weight. That's the question. Okay? So I need instrumentation to have this answer. The other side, the same patient, I have more vertical compression than posterior compression. So after that, if I have a click, if I have a disc displacement, certainly I need MRI. Without MRI, I don't know where is the disc. I have no idea. I can guess. Okay? I can guess. But you'll be surprised that if you guess, maybe 70% of your guessing is wrong. Okay? So you need to take MRI image to check where is the disc. Okay? Then understand that the normal disc to the joint is exactly this picture at 12 o'clock, in where the left side here is the laminar zone, the retroarticular tissue, and the disc is in front of the condyle exactly the way you see. Okay? This is for a normal, let's say, mesofacial patient. When the patient is a little bit high, long face, and the inclination of the joint is a little bit flatter, the disc tends to stay a little bit backward, which is a normal position for this kind of facial pattern. When this patient is ready to bite, the disc is usually sliding anteriorly like this, and this is normal. Okay? Sometimes the radiologist can tell you the disc is displaced, but it's not. Okay? Because radiologist is usually a medical doctor, they don't understand this kind of stuff. Okay? So you need to have this in your brain. You need to understand the concept. After, how can I really understand? If I use this equipment gives me exactly those numbers that I was telling you. How many degrees of the fossa, how many millimeters I have to click, how many degrees I can really decompress the joint, and so on. I don't have time to go so deep here, but basically, I have those curves that will talk to me a lot, what kind of joint the patient has, and what kind of movement. Plus, at the end, mount my models in precise position according to this kind of position. Where is the SCR of the patient, and how the pathway of the mandible according to the coordinate system. And this way, I can see, for example, in green, which is the axis orbital plane, that the condylar can do compared to what we have at left and right. Okay? So two different inclinations. So I have one axis orbital plane for the left, one axis orbital plane for the right. I can use that reference to my tracing, so I can also put the inclination of the
cái
joint
này
inside
thì
my
vị
tracing,
trí lồi cầu câu
and I
chuyện đấy.
can make
Đây,
my
vị trí lồi cầu là câu chuyện đấy.
based
Khó quá.
on the inclination of the joint. So all those cephalometric factors
Nguyên lý là chuyện tìm được cái giá khớp nó phải xịn lắm. Nó hiểu rất kỹ mới làm được, không phải đấy. Vậy nhìn nha, cái giá khớp nó ở vị trí bao nhiêu nó giãn kén được hoàn toàn đấy.
Nói chung là nghe để biết thôi chứ thực tế mình không làm được. Thực tế là phải giáo viên, giáo sư nên người ta mới hiểu sâu. Mình thì đi nghe. Mình chỉ thích làm theo biết ứng dụng thôi. Chứ còn
nắm được cái vị trí lý tưởng thì mình phục hình cũng tốt, chỉnh nhẹ tốt, đưa được cái về vị trí giả nét bằng không.
Không có Minh Châu trong gọi giá khớp này.
Có cứt.
Không có. Tưởng đầu tư giá khớp.
Toàn thằng nó cũng như kiểu bọn anh.
Chứ chưa hiểu sâu được, chưa đầu tư.
So my coordinate system failed completely. The professor Vavicek was a very great sales guy. He has his own boat, so he always correlates this to the sailing. And if you know where you are, it's easy to define where you are going. So my diagnostics pass through therapeutic position, compensatory mechanism that I will create, and Compensatory mechanism can be articular compensation, can be vertical compensation, or just a dental viewer compensation. Okay? Wonderful. I must know the mobility of the joints and understand the mandible is a unique bone. Everything you do on the right side certainly happens something on the left. It's impossible to move only the right side. Always the left side you also move. So you need to understand how this bone moves three-dimensionally on the left or right side. So it's really important to understand before you design your ideal closure system. If you will fix the patient problem with prosto, with ortho, implant, or everything together, doesn't matter. We are here to treat the patient, okay? No matter the patient problem. So this is a prosthodontic approach for a kind of problem. Sometimes you need to do orthodontics and finish my treatment with prosto. Okay? Otherwise the patient becomes very, very unstable.
Em đang trong ở hội trường 313.
Okay, which is anterior protrusion movements and side movements. So upper and lower molars need to understand nicely occlusive system. Otherwise, you don't understand how the molars dictate the pattern of the movement of that man. Okay, everything we do, we later on pass through a structural adaptation on the joints. So this thing must be memorized very good way. So this way you can create your adaptive reaction, which is basically, first of all, response for the environment that you create inside the mouth. After that, the muscles will react, hopefully positive way. After that, the whole functional system dictates a new pattern, and at the end, the skeletal the bones will adapt. So the bone is the last one to adapt to any functional input that you create in the system. And this compensatory reaction can be vertical, dental, velar, and articular. So that's why I like to use what we call the to-go, the temporary overlay, to guide the mandible in the position. Okay, so temporary overlay to guide the orthodontics, we call it to-go. Because with the temporary prosto, I can place the mandible wherever I want and maintain the mandible there to the end of my treatment. Let's see this patient. Okay? I treat this patient with conventional orthodontics, traditional orthodontics. Like 20 years ago, to be honest with you. Okay, this is a big problem to be old in dentistry, with the same address and the same phone number, and the patients come back to you. Okay? So I have a big follow-up with this patient. So she came to me with this profile, the negative shift.
Alo anh.
So I don't want to describe because you guys
Phòng 313.
work better than me. Okay?
Phòng 313
So
ấy.
in other words, it's molar rotation,
Phòng 313.
counting, blah, blah.
313 cái phòng chính nha cũ ấy.
There's no big deal. So you could
Đúng rồi.
right?
Đúng rồi.
But honestly,
Nhé.
at that time, I didn't get a page. Front X-ray, very little symmetry. And from the left X-ray, no big deal, just a little deep bite with some interference here on each side. And I faced her, I recognized that her lower facial height is a little bit shorter, a little bit convex, 4 millimeters. So the patient tends to be meso to brachy. And I started the quadrilates. This is a long time ago, and I was just observing the narrowing of the maxilla. Okay, so I expand, I rotate the molars. This is after I expand, I rotate. I think I did a good job here, so it's nice. After I remove the quadrilates, and you can see that it's still a little shift. Deep bite, but at that time I didn't pay attention to these details. But you can see here very, very deep bite canine. Okay, and this side you don't have that deep bite canine. Same as left, so that's why the mandible is shifting to the left. Okay? If I had adjusted that canine, I would be really much better for her. But I didn't because I didn't see those things at that time. Okay? And now I wait for the keys. It's typical, so I did phase 1. Now I go phase 2. Okay? So the manifold itself adjusts because she ground out the canine herself. It was not me. Okay? And okay, let's put some brackets. This is her face at the moment. Really much better. She is very, very happy lady. Nice smile. I will have some audio in this slide. Okay? Panoramic. I can see everything is doing good. There's no big things here to mention. Front X-ray, everything is okay. Septum is very aligned. The nasal cavity floor, very okay. So there's no signal here of asymmetry. She's doing good. Before, after. And now, after I finish her bracket phase, I finish the case like this. Okay? This is 2015. I think I did good. Do you like this? Is it okay? If you guys finish like this in your office, good? Yeah, I think so. I finished nice. Everything here is okay. Wonderful. So now, this is 2017. Okay? The patient comes to my office very openly and I follow up. Here, she was good. There was no really big thing. The only thing that I noticed that she's missing 1/3 molar here. She doesn't have accent. Okay? And there's no really big bad things here. She's very good. She kept a very nice pattern. The startless inclination are very good. The vertical dimension nice. Everything looks so nice. Tracing, she's still a little short, but the convexity really reduced over time. So now it's 0. Her face is really beautiful. For me, at least to my eyes, she's a very beautiful girl. Okay, and her smile, absolutely gorgeous. I have no problem. Okay, this is 2017, which is 4 years after. But now she came to my office again in 2021, about 8 years after. Okay, and her smile is still very beautiful. Okay, in terms of occlusion, I see no change. Absolutely stable. Absolutely stable. No problem. Okay? Panoramic, I see no big problem.
Nó xây dựng được
Everything okay.
cái khớp múi.
Front X-ray, no really big deal. Left X-ray, she's still very stable, very beautiful, no change. Since almost 10 years after. But if I go to a congress and show you all of this sequence, you're going to say, "Well, doctor, you're so good, huh? 10 years stable." But she has this problem. I cannot hear the sound. Let me see if I can. There's a big, big, loud click on her right one. And she cannot open straight. Anyway, it's not very good to sing the sound, but I can make the sound for you. Clack! Clack! It's very loud. Super loud. Hang on. What should I do? Everything's so beautiful. I can't see anything in the X-rays. In her occlusive system, everything okay. What can I do for helping you? And she comes to me and says, "Doctor, I only believe in you to treat me. What can you do to help me?" if you see her bite, midline is totally matching. There's no evident problem. But when I take her MRI, the disc is in front, on the right side. Totally in front. And you can see the disc is bent. When she opened, the disc folded. When she pushed more to open, the disc slide back and you see a very loud click. So, if I only move the mandible forward, I will just push the disc forward. How can I catch back the disc? The only way is to give her extra vertical damage. So the disc can go on top of the condyle. Just move forward is not enough. But to get the idea of vertical dimension, I need to know her SCI. Otherwise, I don't know if I will compress her or not. So I need to extrude the condyle following her normal pathway. If I incline the joint a little bit up or a little bit back, I don't catch the disc. So when I mount her case, sorry for the quality of my model, this is on the pandemic. There was no plaster in Brazil. It was the only one I could have. Okay? It was terrible at that moment. And after this is her RP position, I see that she has interference on this canine here. Very aggressive interference. When she bites, cracks the canine, and the mandible slide back a little bit. But as she's not having cuspid in fossa, she compressed the joint 1 or 2 millimeters, which is enough to lose the disc. It's enough to lose the disc. Plus a little bit back mandible. That's it. So I need to simulate to her a new position. Okay? Adjust her mandible in vertical dimension, according to the SCI. And now you have here what? This gap. So what is the meaning of this gap? This is the amount that I need to adjust her vertical dimension. So I need to fulfill this gap with anything you want. If you're going to use brackets and wires, okay, but it's not super precise. Okay? What do I need to be super precise? Is to put a temporary prosthodontic to her. If I put an overlay here, I will exactly match with her needs. Okay? Exactly match. So I can combine prosthodontic and orthodontic to deliver to her this dimension that she needs to stop the click. And I bond here the overlay, and I make her now a utility arch to help me to extrude and maintain the position that overlay is dictating. After that, I can stop by on bicuspids a new overlay to maintain the anterior-posterior position of the mandible in a second moment. And now, no more text.
Rồi, nghiên cứu quá sâu mới được làm thế.
So if I don't have this instrument, if I don't have this concept, how can I treat this patient? We understand everything was so good. Skeletally speaking, X-rays,
Nó tìm được cái vị trí mà thích nghi của cái cậu mới.
Very stable over the years, but in a long range, she lost her
Buồn ngủ vừa lên
I need to regain her
vừa nghe vừa.
So you can mount her case as many times as you want to refine, and this is her finishing stage. So it's just a matter now to put the molars here because now my bicuspid is holding her, and I remove the posterior overlay. So once you stabilize the position, now the bicuspid can maintain, and the molars will hold until the second molar comes down. You can check this with Watson if she's touching, and you can little by little check her if she can open straight or not. So she's improving, and now she's a happy lady again. I didn't change her aesthetically. She's absolutely the same. So what did I introduce to her is a new vertical posterior dimension. Okay, it was necessary to recap.
Thay đổi kích thước sau.
Another case, pretty similar. Okay, we have a little bit extra exposure of the incisors and very dramatic different vertical dimensions left and right side. So this kind of case is very difficult to treat only orthodontically, because how can I reposition the mandible in such a case? I can put a mini screw here and raise all the upper jaw up, but is it enough to get the disc back? So these questions are important for us to go home and analyze. So here, this is the same thing, different vertical dimensions. You can see her deviation, not so aggressive, but the deep bite. So the facial axis is pretty okay, but she's convex. Lower facial height is short. So I need the overlays. So once I put the overlays, it's not a resinoma, okay? It's an overlay calculated exactly to protect her joints. It's not a piece of composite anyway, okay? So after that, we can align, and I can run my multi-loop wires. This is made by the metal, but it can be rhodiola, it doesn't matter. And I can refine her situation and check if I am doing good. Check the overall. And from inside, which is the aspect that we should analyze occlusion. Okay? Occlusion must be observed from inside, not from outside. Outside means absolutely nothing. Okay? Occlusion is cuspid fossa. And I can only see cuspid fossa from inside. This is why I usually need to mount. Otherwise, I cannot see this relation. And here, I build up a new overlay for her. Reconstruct her vertical dimension a second time. And now, she was adapting when I place. This is the day I place. And after that, I made my wires to extrude the posterior dentition. I stopped the mandible with the anterior bicuspid overlay. And after I put the molars in position, the molars are coming here. I can remove her brackets and finish like this. So after that, I can check her before, after. So the planes are very parallel. Very good. And I fixed our vertical dimension very close to 46. Reduce the convexity to 2. Okay? So I achieved my goals in my treatment. And more than that, this is a follow-up of her. Now, about, if I'm not wrong, 2 years after. This is the sequence of mandibular repositioning. In her face, with much better smile, but more than everything, is her health, joint, and health system. Okay? This, her mandible certainly forward, if you can see this well. This is a colleague, it's a dentist, my student in Brazil. he came to my courses and he said, I used to ask, who here has a TMD? He was the first one. He came to me and he said, oh Nelson, I have a very big problem on my joint and I need someone to help me. And this is his smile. You can see the midline very off. Okay? And you can look here, many bad signals of overload. So when you get patients a little bit aged, okay, you see more problems. Fractions, fractures, overlays, okay, veneers, root canal, implant, okay? This is normal. So veneers, look at these big restorations he has in the cervical lesions here, here, fracture lines here, and here, and here. So this is all signals of overload. His system is totally stressed. Okay? Totally stressed. You can see that how her restoration is very shiny because he breaks, just super breaks. Okay? When I make her this muscle palpation, I recognize that temporalis are very painful. Medial temporalis are sensitive more on this left side. Deep masseter sensitive, both sides. Left medial temporal very painful. Mylohyoidal very painful. Digastric very painful. And her this joint on the right side very sensitive in the left as well. What does this mean? That the system is totally collapsed. Okay? We need to find a new position for the mandible where count down the muscles and relieve this pain. Okay? So now, this frontal X-ray, and you can see these planes are totally asymmetric, and you can see many adaptations of the system here. Inclination of incisor, the chins to the side. You can see the septal and nasal cavity tipping. Vertical dimension left and right, totally different. And these condyles immediately displaced, shocking against the internal portion of the joint, causing here a trauma. And the other side certainly is the opposite way. If the condyle this side goes inside, the other one certainly goes outside. Okay? When I take CBCT, I can see that the condyle is resorbing in here. So her cortical bone is disappearing in this area here. His cortical bone is disappearing in this area here. And it's very bad because the condyle is being compressed immediately. Okay. And you can see from this side as well. The other side is okay. Panoramic, I can clearly see the different inclination of the joints, different inclination of the posterior dimension, the molars, and I can see his joint in super trouble here and here. Erosion in both joints. So, what can we do to help this hard belief? What can we do? So I mount him in axis orbital plane, which is those little balls here, these pins. I recognize that he needs a little bit of vertical dimension. When I mounted him in trace, I can see certain very interesting things. When I ask him to open his mouth, this is the movement that he does. It's very interesting. To protrude, he opened his mouth. So he cannot protrude straight. He can only open and protrude. Why this is happening? Because the incisors are so interference, so big interference, that he avoids that contact. So it's an unconscious movement. So if I ask the patient with a severe interference incisor to protrude, he will certainly open before protruding. And I mount this case with the same reference plane. And I can see that the deviation of the joint is about 0.5 millimeter to the center. This is what causes him a
Em
compression.
quên quay tiếp của em ấy.
Okay? The lines are exactly the same. When I compress the joint, it exaggerates a little bit more to 1 millimeter this compression to the joint on the medial portion of the right joint. So after that, I mount this case with 6 millimeter of pin to get me 45 degrees of lower tissue height. Then I simulate the VTO. I place the mandible in the position that I desire 46, and I can see that I certainly need for him a big change on the vertical dimension. So this is the molar time 1. This is the VTO molar in black. So this distance, I need to raise this posterior vertical dimension. After that, I simulate on the articulator this new position, and you can see here this gap must be reconstructed. Okay? Can I do this with orthodontics only? Certainly not. Certainly not. I definitely need prosthodontics. Okay? So, but I was very curious. I was very curious to understand why his mandible was shifting immediately on the y-axis. Okay, on the y-axis. So I play with the articulator. So you can simulate that contact here as well. So you can see that he's only touching this bicuspid. And this bicuspid makes his condyle goes against the enemies. Goes against the internal portion of the joint. So if you play on the y-axis, you can see where it is in the face. If you want the simple brackets here, this is easily repeated. But to fix his vertical dimension, I need post. So simple orthodontic treatment for him is more than okay. But later on, prosthodontic rehabilitation. So ortho is must walk together. So with this articulator, I can play on the y-axis on tenths of millimeter. And I create and simulate to him a splint, therapeutic splint, for exactly the position that I run. After that, I ask him to take new x-rays using this splint. And you can see that his face automatically changed just before the splint. And you can see the vertical dimension that the splint is creating for him. Then the joint can vertically displace down to a new position. And if I trace this case again, I reach the 46, 47 degree, exactly my forecast VTO. Okay? And now I reduce this convection to 0.3. And this is my plan. Okay? This is before the splint, and this is the patient with the splint. And now I take a new frontal x-ray with the splint, and now the condyle is centered exactly in the position that I want. So this is my test drive. My splint is just to test drive my plan. So before, this is after, and this is before after. And you can see clinically, evidentially, how his face changed and his posture changed dramatically with the splint in position. Okay? So it's not only about the joint, it's about his posture, his neck, his shoulder, his everything. Okay? And now you can see from the side a new head posture and a new, completely new mandible displacement. This is the before after, and you can see his wrinkles disappear in here. Even these wrinkles disappear because we gave him a new vertical dimension. Okay? You don't need Botox, sometimes you need just a new vertical dimension. So, class 2 has a strong commitment with the TMDs. And your patients now are more and more class 2s. So the appearance of class 2s in the office is increasing a lot. So certainly your TMD cases will also increase. It's automatically connected. If class 2s is raising, TMD is going to raise as well. We need to be prepared to treat these patients. Okay? Because there is a connection between the CMS and TMJs, muscles, neuromuscular system, and occlusion and articulation. So this is completely connected. You cannot do anything. So what I created to go was to do exactly what the split did for this previous patient, but fixed. Okay, fixed. There is spleen to remove to eat, the spleen to remove anything. But with the overlays is a spleen fixed. Okay, it's the same concept. Everything, every information is in the spleen, is also in the overlay. So it's the same thing. So I designed this system together with my colleagues, Dr. Ovando. He will be with us in November here in Hanoi to my to-go courses. I will start to teach to-go for Hanoi students because I love Hanoi. Okay? And I will start here first, and I will bring Dr. Ovando and Miguel and Alejandra in the future certainly because he's prosthodontist. So I want to combine prosto ortho and Miguel and Alejandra, they are orthodontists. So I think it's better to bring the prosto guy and we can make this very nice course for either prosto and orthodontist, so both specialties. So we need to know the sagittal condylar inclination. For example, this is a sagittal condylar inclination of 44 degrees, and this is sagittal condylar inclination 29 degrees. So where should I put my vertical dimension? Where should I put the condyle? Okay? If I do just a very quick, very simple explanation. If I put the condyle under or below the curve, I decompress the joint. If I put the condyle on top of the curve, I compress the joint. So I don't want to compress. Okay? I can do two options. On top of the curve or decompress. Okay? So if I don't know the inclination, how can I calculate it? It's so hard. For example, if I move the articulator 2 millimeters forward, 2 millimeters down in a regular 44 SCI, you have zero compression. You are on top of the curve. But if you do 2 millimeters forward, or sorry, it's 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter forward, 1 millimeter down in a 29 degrees, you are decompressing the joint. It's the same movement on the articulator, but the result of the joint is completely different. It's completely different. If I do 2 forward, 2 down, in this guy, I still on top of the curve. So there's no decompression, there's no compression. But here, I am doing a lot, almost 1 millimeter of decompression. The distraction can be for a young kid a problem. So we need to test this carefully. Okay? So to be precise, certainly we need to understand the SCI. If the SCI is 44, now I put 2 and 2, I will compress the joint. Okay? If it's 29, I will be exactly on the curve. So the same activation, but different SCIs. Just to give you a very idea of how this thing works. So there's no magic formula to calculate the therapeutic precision. You need to use everything you have to your diagnosis. Okay? So absolutely anywhere. Sorry, TP is absolutely anywhere. It comes from RP. So from RP, I can put the condyle anywhere I want. I can put forward, down, to the side, to the right, up, to the front, anyway. I can rotate, I can procline, I can extrude, I can do anything I want. As soon as I know RP, then I know my STI. So some cases demo, for example, extreme low angle case like this. I will show some before afters very quick because I don't have much time. So you guys can see, okay? So look at this guy. He came from another office to me, transferred. And this guy is 15 years old, but he looks like 40 years old. Okay? Because short faces. They show like old face. Okay? So this guy cannot show his incisors very well, and to be worse, he has two missing laterals to complicate my life a little bit. Here, his situation at the moment he arrived in my office. This is the Steelers K9. The doctor who transferred to me bonded some brackets, but that's it. Then he told me, no, I'm going to send you a case very easy, just to do a little bit here and there. But this is definitely not okay? So I have to sit together to the family and say, do you want to change the plan? Do you want to make good things for him? So, missing laterals with the 69, and his deep arc, very deep speaker, very deep speaker. But his upper incisor is behind the lid. So I cannot treat this deep overbite by playing with incisors, because his smile is already bad. If I put incisors here, it's going to be terrible for his smile. It's going to be very bad for his face. I need another solution. And I start with the heel, give him some vertical dimension. Okay? Just to align, just to move, starting here. And after I align and adjust a little bit the tipping and adjust the speaker, I can now definitely bond my overlays, my two goals. So I put one to go here, one to go here, one to go here, another to go here. And I have now what? A new mandibular position. And for now, the orthodontics becomes super easy, because it's just a matter to put the teeth together. That's it. Okay? So, with the utilities, I can help to control the molars. After that, I can start to retract this K9, and I put here some fake laterals to him, because I start to open the space for future implants. Okay? And this is the situation he is at my office right now. He's about to remove his brackets. You see that I ground up all the posterior overlays, and I still have a little on my bicuspids. As soon as the molar really set up, I can remove it. In his face now, it's completely different new vertical dimension. It's totally new face frame. He's still bracking, of course. I cannot change a super low angle case in a music, but much better. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, and now he's smiling. He's super shy. This guy is very shy. And opening the spaces, I just need a little bit more here in this K9, and that's it. And look at his new condition. The before and after, so the pulso plane, the straight is better aligned, but I didn't change this vertical anterior dimension. I changed the posterior condition. So we changed from here to here. And he looks younger now, in fact, but he's 2 years old. Okay, he's 18 in his profile. Really much. Okay? So, another case, now adult, with a big crowding, some cross bite. The steep curve is also steep, not so bad as before, the previous one. When he smiles at the end, when I remove his brackets, with the same concept, okay? You can finish like this. It gives him, deliver him the appropriate guidances to maintain that situation that he creates. So the after X-ray, So I didn't change much inside, just all the changes that I induced was in the posterior edge. This is the before and after. You can see the upright of these molars with the new vertical dimension that I took. Okay, so this panoramic before. Another before after with a very loud clicking patient as well, with a periodontal overload. Similar to the case I showed you with the little girl, with a beautiful smile, but here you see the patient's older, of course. You can see now the periodontal is already starting to suffer bone losses. Okay, because the system is locked. Every time she goes back, there are many interferences on the system. Okay, so we need to release this condition for her to function appropriately. So I create the overlays again, second molar and here in bicuspids to stabilize mandible rotation. And when I remove her brackets, she was really much better situation and no more click. And I left this one a little bit because she was still a little not so easy to maintain the mandible. So you can keep there until everything will remodel. After that, you can remove and place the canine bicuspid separating on the next stage. Another case with extreme asymmetry. Extreme asymmetry. These cases are very important cases to treat, very hard to treat. In this kind of patients, they do not benefit a lot from surgery. That's the big problem. The surgeon can help to make him symmetrically, but the surgeon cannot decompress the joint. Okay? That's the real thing. In long range, the patient relapses the surgery. For few months, the surgery stays good. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, relapse. Not maybe everything, but relapse. So why? Because the surgery is not capable to decompress the joint. Because the surgeon cut anterior here on the corpus. And there's nothing to do with the joint. So who is responsible to decompress the joint? The orthodontist and the prosthodontist. When you refer the case for surgery, the patient must be decompressed. And the surgeon just play surgical. Make the life of the surgeon easy for please. Okay? And here, this situation, we observe that his midline is matching. So not always asymmetry reflects on the midline. When you see asymmetry on the midline, means the mandible is shifting on the horizontal plane. But I can have asymmetry on the vertical. And the midline stays. Okay? So I need to adjust this case absolutely in the vertical dimension. But I cannot do this much in a while. Just a meow, it's impossible to give to him this much of vertical dimension. So let me move quicker here. This is I install here one side only over there. Because this is his shorter side. Okay, little by little, he will tend to decompress the joint. But be careful to do not compress the other side. Remember, the mandible is a single bone. Two joints together. If I decompress here, the other side goes up. Okay? So you always need to compensate here as well. But in the very beginning, I didn't make it. But he's under control. Okay? Then his face now, he's still under treatment. But really much better. Really much better. We look at the height of the overlays. So little by little, the mandible can adjust and adapt in adult age. This guy is 25, 24 years old. Okay? Adult case with very
Cốc
mesotypic
cao,
teeth.
cốc thấp.
Okay? Open bite tendency with bad periodontal condition, class 2 open bite. And you can see here, the whole lower segment is mesotypic, including the canine is mesoinclined. And now, you can see here in her X-ray, the occlusal plane very steep on the posterior edge. So, very mesotypic. I cannot put overlays in this case because the mesotypic impede the overlay. So before placing overlays, I need to do orthodontic to upright the occlusal table of the molars to receive the overlay the next day. And this is her case after we upright. And you see how the mandible really adjusts forward. And this is the before Brooks checker. You can see how she was bruxing on top of the posterior dentition, and there's no contact on the anterior teeth. Brooks checker is a wonderful tool for you guys to use and understand the mandible function during sleep. This unconscious movement. The patient tells you where is the interference and where is the premature contact. It's evident. Okay? And after that, I run meow. I put the Urgulon on the lower and Gameta on the upper because Urgulon is more effective to force control. And to be a little bit more comfortable for her, I put the Gameta on the upper. And this is her after situation. Ready now for what? Now she's ready for overlays. Okay? So to place the overlay in such a case, I definitely need to upright. This is her before and after. And I check now on the articulator that her occlusal plane is super steep still because she has compressed joints. But now I will put the overlays because the lower occlusal plane is ready. Orthodontic mandible in an adult case. How can I move this mandible forward and maintain the mandible there? Okay, without surgery. It's the same concept. I start with the meow, multi-loops, and I put her here overlays to re-guide the new mandible position. I have in line SCI, okay? I'm not showing, but it's everything there, okay? So now she's new position, and I can start to remove her brackets with a very new mandible position. Anterior disc displacement. This little girl came to my office with a locked joint. She couldn't open her mouth. So what should we do? We need to remove her interferences and treat the two different vertebral dimensions, left and right. Okay? She couldn't open her left joint. So I make her ondography, everything as the way is possible. And you can see her MRI. The disc here is bent. Can you see the disc folded here? The disc is like this, so she cannot open. So how can I treat this problem? Delivering her vertical dimension. If I only move forward, I give nothing. And the funny thing, I start to treat her with the splints. I deliver her the first splint. After 15 days, his family called me, "Doctor, she's clicking. But she didn't have the click before. Is this the problem?" Of course not. If she's clicking, it's because the disc is getting bad. Thanks God, I'm doing good. So what should I do now? Raise more. Are you following? Hope so. And her tracing, completely different SCI left to right side. We start because her joint is locked. And the computer gives me the configuration of the articulator to unlock her joint. Another case, class 3, super class 3. Can I treat without surgery and, let's say, create a decent result? Maybe not ideal, but decent? Yes. But here, I don't have vertical compensations on the posterior edge. In a class 3, the objective is a little bit different. There's a compensation in the vertical anterior, which is just rotation. So I don't want to compress the joint. I just want to rotate. And rotate from where? With reference position. Because I know in that position there is no compression. So I can mount the case in RP and open the pin as much as I want. Okay? So after that, I construct my arch wires to exclude incisors to create to her a nice smile, because usually a class 3, low, high or low angle, doesn't matter. They don't show incisors very much. So the closed side is very indicated to exclude the upper incisors to deliver her a good smile. But the money will stop here. How can I stop the money here? With the overlays. In her face before after. Okay, no surgery. And when I have a syndrome patients like this, first and second arch of branches, I receive many cases like this. How can we do? What can we do for this kind of patient? So the first and second arch of branch syndrome cause her a dramatic asymmetry because the condyle doesn't exist. She doesn't have condyle. She has a little, like a little bit what you can call a condyle. Okay? But there's no really a condyle. But I need to decompress because remember that both sides are connected. So this one goes up, but that one, the other one goes down and in. So I need to balance her to preserve the other side, which there's no problem. And prepare her for future surgery to replace her bone. And this is the moment when she's grown. Okay? I test her bite many times. So I usually use silicone putty or lab silicone that is very stiff to test the new position that I am developing on the articulator. And I perform palpation, I check her joint, I check everything. And after that, I start to deliver to her the overlays. So at that moment here, I gave her overlays on top of the deciduous dentition. She was a mixed. Okay? After pandemic, she disappeared. And she got back to me. This is the overlay I placed. I should raise more, but she disappeared because of pandemic. And you see that the lip line now is better. And she come back to me now with permanent dentition. This is about 5 months ago. And now I place another overlay to raise her vertical dimension only on her right side. And you can see she's really much better. And she starts to equilibrate little by little, even in a syndrome like this. So occlusal system Occlusion is the answer for everything. Occlusion is the answer for all your needs in your office. Okay? This is before, after 2 overlays. Okay? You can see the way she is now after adaptation to the overlays I cemented 5 months ago. So she's like this. Sometimes you scare because you bond, the patient cannot close. You better try to give her a week. After 1 week, she can get it. Okay? So don't scare. So understand the principle and understand the muscles and the ligaments will all work for you. And of course, open the bite here, because the condyle will just on the other side as well. So now she's ready for some records. And the girl I showed before, she didn't have space for the lateral incisors, asymmetry, mandible deviate. Now I can say really horizontal shift, because I see the midline off. Okay? So now, let me move a little bit quicker. You can see the asymmetry, 2 borders, interference here. I traced her. She needs about 4 degrees of vertical dimension. And the way I mount her in therapeutic position, so you can see the open bite I created in the posterior end. Okay? So what should I do now? Is to fulfill the gap with something. Can be crowns, can be wire, extrusion, doesn't matter. Okay? I think it's easier if I put prostate. So I can test her bite. I was using futar at that time, but this material is a little bit expensive and very fractured. So I think silicone putty is cheaper and easier, okay? And more effective, honestly. So I can test her bite, and I move her mandible on the right side 1 millimeter, on the left side 4. And I test, put this in her mouth, she stayed this way for 5 minutes, and I check her muscles, ask her to open close several times. If I don't see a clip, if I don't see a problem, I'm going to use this as my final position. I build up overlays. Sorry, I'm not very good dental technician. This is I did myself, because it's difficult to find a dental technician who understands the concept. It's ugly, but it's worth it. Okay? So this is when I cement, and this is the good thing. When you cement, the patient goes exactly in the position that you want. So the patient leaves your office, class 1, symmetric. Immediately. Okay? Then the family becomes, wow. All families love it. Because patient enter class 2, mandible shift. And painful. Patient leave mandible matching, class 1, and no pain. Magic. Okay? And overlays, front X-ray, absolutely matching, left and go, right side. And her X-ray, I trace. In the very first time, what really concerns me is the vertical dimension. I leave the convexity for next mounting. Okay? Sometimes you cannot move through both simultaneously. So if you cannot do just the vertical first, in the next mounting, you adjust the position of the mandible. And here she is, before, after, before, after, before, after. And she came back to me, I follow up her. This is before, after. Her face, more symmetric, really much better. You can see how she matched the midline. And now, magically, she has space for the lateral incisors. She didn't have. So, I didn't place any expanders. I didn't place any appliance. Just 4 crowns. How is it possible to open space if I didn't expand? Here's the concept. I take this picture because the midline is not matching because the upper incisors are to the right. It's not because the mandible is wrong, it's because the upper teeth are deviated to the other side. Okay? The mandible is good. So now, her smile, and the way she is now, absolutely, I took from Facebook. I spy my patients, I took them to me. Okay? So she's super beautiful girl. Yeah. Now, how can I treat transversal discrepancies? Yeah, I am 3 minutes, right? The only way is changing the vertical dimension if you want to be stable. Because the forces of occlusion deliver a lot of pressure on the zygomatic area and helps to adjust the maxilla transversally, naturally. You don't need to really put expansion too much. Is it wrong if you expand? No, that's not wrong. You can expand, but certainly you need vertical control as well. Like Ricketts told us many years ago. So to finish, because I don't have time, I have more cases here, but I will jump. I will show you this little boy and
Không cần quan trọng, quá quan trọng.
he's
Thay được
3 years
tập
old.
nhưng mà cái hôm nay mình học được cái thay đổi quyết dọc nữa, thay đổi cái đầu cầu là mình về mình làm thôi.
Because it's much easier. Okay. Then I have more chances. If I fail. Okay. Very, very problematic, very short dimension. I understand that short dimension should be short and big, and I understand the patient should be very problematic, big, but not this much. Okay? So now, after I start to kick in, oh sorry, this is her first record. And his mandible super bad. And you can see his condyle very backward and distal under compression. So what did I make for him? So short dimension, posterior vertical dimension very small. 6 millimeters convex is a lot. He's even 40 years old. So what did I make? What can I do to raise his vertical dimension in the deciduous dentition? Overlay posterior. Then open his bite. So if you only touch the second deciduous molar, it creates a pivot to decompress the joint. Okay? It's the same guy before and after. This is 1 month after. It closes itself. You don't need to make anything. The mandible rotates and closes. This is the day we install in 1 month after. So what's going on with the joint? To close like this. Decompression. Decompression. Okay? And I make a new overlay for him to open his bite again. And I continuously decompress him. Okay? Every 6 months, every 8, 9 months. In his face now. Like 4. Now he's 4 years old. So we can do great things for the kids. A lot. So simple pieces of acrylic make a big change.
Cái này áp dụng được.
Okay. Conclusion of my talk.
Hàn có muốn dĩ lên.
Change the growth pattern of the patient. Re-guide the money. Give the patient adequate vertical dimension.
Cái này gặp nhiều đấy.
Okay. Put a class 2 to grow as a class 1. Put a class 3 to grow as a class 1. Okay? Understand this. in class 2 or 3, following these things are very important to achieve a successful result. Adjust the occlusal plane, adjust the occlusal support, no posterior vertical dimension. Okay? Reposition the mandible. Give a good arch-wire coordination, especially deliver to the upper arch positive force. Okay? Reclusive control, reclusive and interpolation control. Provide functional freedom for the mandible, protruding side to side. Never give negative torque on the upper arch, because you block the mandible. Never deliver very rectifying canines, you block the mandible. Okay? Understand that ortho and prosto must be together. And dentistry is our profession. If you use prosto ortho, it doesn't matter. Use what the patient needs. Okay? You cannot consider orthodontist, and that's it. Okay? We need to be multidisciplinary. Thank you for my professors, for Ricketts, who told me many, many things. And to